Welcome back to another edition of the NBA Fantasy Baller DFS edition, brought to you by ResearchFantasy.com. I'm your host, as always, Nicholas Vlinchak. Username on all major fantasy sites, Nick from CWE. I finally feel like a human again. It is Monday, March 27th, 2017. Hard to believe that we are winding down March. We've only got 2 weeks of the regular season of the NBA left, and it is shaping up to be an interesting one, as it always is. I think the biggest warning that you should get about the last 2 weeks is that you are going to see, in some circumstances, it's going to be an interesting dynamic between some of the rotations really tightening up and some of the rotations starting to expand as coaches want to get better looks. We've got some battles being fought. Boston's now tied Cleveland up for the number 1 seed in the East. Cleveland has not the greatest schedule going down the stretch. Boston plays 6 games at home, which is always a favorable metric. And like I said, it's just going to be very interesting to see how things finish out. Didn't record any videos over the weekend aside from our Major League Baseball primer. Basically, the slates on Saturday and Sunday were small. They weren't the same on Sunday between the 2 major fantasy sites, so I didn't really want to give picks that were going to be specific to just one platform. Thus, I decided to focus my efforts on building NASCAR lineups. I am going to probably be rolling out some premium content for the PGA, NASCAR, and CFL. These will be very low cost premium subscriptions, probably done on a weekly basis so that users can get an advantage. I would like to say that I've worked through modules pretty well for the PGA and NASCAR to where they're producing winning results for me every week. The CFL, we were one of the only sites to cover CFL last year. I expect that to be about the same thing this year, and I watched a lot of the games, so I do feel like I've got a pretty good handle on that, and I'd like to see that sport grow this year because it was actually a really fun sport to watch, really fun sport to play daily fantasy in. All right, now that all the promotional material is done, let's get to my 3 favorite tournament plays for the day. And it's going to start with Jrue Holiday going up against the Utah Jazz at 12-6 on Fantasy Draft, 7-2 on FanDuel, and 6,700 on DraftKings. Right now, DeMarcus Cousins' status is currently up in the air. He dealt with an ankle injury that kept him out of the game on Sunday night. Admittedly, a matchup against Utah is not something we go out of our way to target, but on a 6-game slate, you almost have no choice but to step outside of your comfort zone. I do believe one of the better ways to attack is through the point guard position. They do have good perimeter. They guard well on the perimeter. They guard well in the paint. After all, they've got Rudy Gobert in there. But Gobert can be susceptible to fouls. And if he does get in foul trouble, he'll be in the game, but he won't be able to be as aggressive because the Jazz are also playing for placement in the postseason. I think Holiday's unique ability to slash, distribute, or post up and shoot threes will give him a variety of options to attack this team with tonight. The biggest thing is you've got Kyrie Irving, who's priced far too low in his matchup. You've got Elfrid Payton, who's been hitting triple-doubles like it's nobody's business, just $400 more. And then you have some options underneath, such as Derrick Rose, that could potentially be used as well, leaving Holiday kind of in a black hole of ownership, and I think that's a situation we could capitalize on. If DeMarcus Cousins does miss this game tonight, there's a very good chance that Holiday will have to be more aggressive offensively, and with that being said, he could end up exceeding value and into the 40-point range. Next up, let's go to the other side of the game, and let's talk Rudy Gobert, center of the Utah Jazz, 14.7 fantasy draft, 8,700 FanDuel, 8,000 DraftKings. This guy's been an absolute monster as of late. Not too many guys posting 60-point outings and priced under 10K, but Gobert's been there once, if not twice, within the last 5 games. There's nothing that really scares me about the Pelicans with or without DeMarcus Cousins, because we know Cousins himself can be a hothead. And even if he does play, he's well within danger of getting into foul trouble, as we've seen basically in every game with him in a Pelicans uniform. I think that should give Gobert easier routes to the lane. And while Anthony Davis does match up well with him, I can still see Rudy Gobert coming off with a pretty good line that would include 15 boards, 15 points, a couple of blocks, a couple of steals. He'll have some turnovers. But all things considered, I do feel like a 40-point floor is pretty safe for him tonight. But I'm really buying into the ceiling if Jrue Holiday and Tim Frazier and guys like that make the mistake of trying to get into the paint and drive and slash to the rim. He could end up with a high block shot total, which immediately increases his fantasy value and puts 50-plus point upside on the board. Finally, and I mentioned him once already, and I'll go back to him to close out tonight. I think my favorite tournament option tonight is Kyrie Irving, 14.7 fantasy draft, 9,100 FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings. The FanDuel price isn't exactly what we want to see. That's pretty high. He still needs over 45 points, which he's not doing on a regular situation now that Kevin Love is back. However, needing less than 40 points on DraftKings and going up with an aged Tony Parker, it's just one of those dream situations. The Cavs are always a very popular tournament target. Nothing is going to change on a 6-game slate. And I did debate between him and LeBron, to be completely honest with you, because LeBron at 10-3, that's a really nice price for a guy with, again, 60-point upside, close spread, not a high total necessarily, but we've seen what has happened with the Cavs in these playoff-type games, and LeBron plays 40 minutes, ends up with 60, 65 fantasy points. Kyrie ends up with 45, 50. I think that both of them are in play. I just really love the upside against Kyrie because at the end of the day, I don't see Tony Parker slowing him down. I don't see Danny Green slowing him down, but I could see Kawhi Leonard slowing LeBron James down. So with that said, our top 3, Jrue Holiday, Rudy Gobert, Kyrie Irving. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head over to researchfantasy.com. Sign up for our NBA mailing list. Head over to Facebook, like us there, follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.